Hello everyone, welcome back to a Python programming course. So far we have learned variables, loops, functions, modules and many other concepts. But every program we have written had one major limitation. When the program ended, all data disappeared. For example, if we stored a student marks in a variable and closed Python, those marks were lost. Real applications cannot work like this. Banks store account information, schools store student records, hospitals store patient details, and WhatsApp stores messages. Instagram stores posts and comments. All these applications need permanent storage. That's why we use file handling. Now, what is a file? A file is a collection of data stored permanently on computer. A file is simply a place where information is stored. Unlike variables, files remain on the computer even after the program closes. In computer storage, we have files like notes.txt, maps.txt, diary.txt. These files stay on the computer until we delete them. Now, why do we need file handling? Say I have a variable equals to 90 and program ends. Program ends and data is lost. Variables only exist while the program is running. After the program is done, the data is lost. But the files allow us to save data permanently. Now there are two types of storages. One is temporary storage and one is permanent storage. Now we will quickly look at the difference between both of them. Firstly, we have temporary storage and permanent storage. Temporary storage consists of variables, while permanent storage consists of files. Temporary storage lost when program ends, whereas permanent storage remains after program ends. These are stored in RAM and these are stored in disks. Temporary storage are generally fast and permanent storage are generally persistent. Variables are temporary, files are permanent. Now, how is data stored in a memory or in a file? Say I have a memory, or we can say we have RAM and we have hard disk. In case of RAM, firstly the program starts. After program starts, variables are created. After variables are created, program ends. As soon as the program ends, all the data regarding the variables disappear. But that's not in the case of disk. In the case of disk, firstly file is created. After that, program ends and file still exists. So the data which we stored in the file still exists even after the program is ended. That's the primary difference between the memory and the hard drive data allocation. For example, we have a school management system. We have a school management system. In the school management system, we store the following records. We have the student name, we have roll number, we have marks and attendance. These records must be available tomorrow, next month, and or even after a year. Similarly, we have banking system. In banking system, we have account number, balance, transaction. Imagine if the bank lost all the data every evening. That would be impossible. We have WhatsApp also. In WhatsApp, we store messages, photos and videos. Messages are stored permanently, which is why you can read old conversations. Now, there are mainly two types of files. We have two types of files. Firstly, we have the text files. In text files stores readable text. Example, I have notes.txt, students.txt and marks.txt. After that, after text file, the second type of files is binary files. So the binary files stores data in binary form. Example are images, videos, audio files and PDFs. Now what can we do with files? For that we have some file operations. These are the things which we can do with files. Firstly, we can create a file, we can open that created file, we can read that file, we can write in that file, we can append that file. Append means making changes, and finally we can close that file. Now, why file handling is important? The benefits of file handling are permanent storage, data sharing, record keeping, automation, reporting and backup. Almost every software application uses file handling in some form. So now we understand why file handling is needed and how files provide permanent storage. In the next section, we will learn how to open and close files in Python using the open function and understand file paths, file objects, and why closing files properly is an important programming practice. In the previous section, we learned what files are and why they are important. We also understood that files store data permanently, but here's an important question. How does Python access a file? Imagine you want to read a book. The first thing you do is open the book. After reading it, you close the book. Python works exactly in the same way. Before reading or writing a file, we must first open it. After finishing our work, we should close it. Now, what is an open function? The open function is used to open a file in Python. The basic syntax of open function is, firstly we write open, and then in the parenthesis we will write the file name. After comma we write the mode, and then parenthesis close. The open function needs two important pieces of information: which file to open and in what mode to open it. The first argument is the file name and the second argument is the file mode. Now, what is file name? The file name tells Python which file to access. For example, I have files like notes.txt, student.txt, marks.txt. it it tells Python, okay, open notes.txt. If I write the notes.txt file name, and the mode tells Python what we want to do with the file. For example, I want to read the file, I want to write the file, create file, add new data. We will learn about all modes in detail later. Now, for now, remember that mode controls the operation. How does the operation flow look like? Opening a file. For opening a file, firstly we write open, then access the file. The open function accesses the file, and then we tell it to read or write. When open is called, Python connects the program with the file. Now, what is a file object? When Python opens a file, it creates file object. The file object acts like a bridge between the Python program and the file. It's a bridge between the Python program and the file. We use this file object to read and write data. For example, I have a library card. The library card gives you access to books. Similarly, the file object gives your program access to the file. Now, why do we need to close the file? After finishing work, we should close the file. For that, we use the close file command. Now, why closing is important? Why closing is important? Firstly, it saves changes. If data was written to the file, closing helps ensure that changes are saved properly. Then we have free system resources. An open file uses operating system resources. Closing releases those resources. Then we have prevent data corruption. Properly closing a file reduces the risk of incomplete or corrupted data. And then we have good programming practice. Professional programmers always close the files after using them. For that, we use the close method. For writing the close method, closes the file, and the syntax looks like file dot close. After closing, the connection between the program and the file ends. After that, we have the file path. The next topic is file path. So file path tells Python where the file is located. Tells Python where file is located. After that, we have relative path. If the file is in the same folder as Python program, then this is a relative path. Relative paths are simpler and commonly used in beginner projects. Now, what is the difference between an absolute and a relative path? In an absolute path, we pass the full location, whereas in the relative path, we pass the current location. Now, we will quickly look at some important file modes. The first mode is R, which is read, W, which represent write, then A means append, and X means create new file. Now, what happens internally? Firstly, the program starts. After that, we open file. After opening the file, Python creates file objects. After making file object, we perform operations. Then we close the file, and after that program continues. This is the sequence Python follows internally. Now we understand how Python opens files and why closing them is important. In the next section, we will learn how to read data from this file using read, readline and readlines, understand the file pointer concept and learn difference between reading an entire file and reading it line by line. In the previous section, we learned how to open and close files using the open function. Now the next question is, how do we read the data stored inside a file? Imagine opening a notebook. You can read the entire notebook, read one line, read all lines separately. Python provides different methods for each of these situations. Today we will learn the three main reading methods: read, readline and readlines. Now firstly we will quickly look at the reading process. For reading a file, we must open the file. After opening the file, we read the file and then we close the file. Every reading operation follows these three steps. For reading, we have the read method in Python. Now what does read method do? Read method reads the entire contents of a file. Contents of the file. The read method brings all the text into the program at once. Now how does read works? The read method returns a single string containing entire file. Returns a single string containing entire file. For example, we will take example of reading a letter. Imagine reading a letter, you read the complete letter from beginning to end. Read works exactly the same way. Read can also read a limited number of characters. Example, I have written Python programming. Now I tell my read method, in the read method I say just read the 6 character. So it will read only Python and leave the programming alone. So Python starts reading from the beginning of the file. After read method we have readline method. Readline method. What does readline method do? Readline method reads one line at a time. Reads one line at a time. Each call to the readline reads the next line. Now why readline is useful? Suppose a file contains 10,000 lines. Reading the entire file at once may use more memory. Reading line by line is also more efficient. For example, I have an attendance register. In attendance register, I have students like student 1, 2 and 3. The teacher reads one student's name at a time. Readline works similar way. After the readline method, I have readlines method. The readlines method reads all the lines and returns them as a list. Reads all the lines and returns them as a list. And each line become one list element. So this was all about read line and read lines method. We will in the next session we will learn how to write data to files and append new information using write, understand the difference between write mode and append mode, and learn how Python creates new files automatically when needed. Now, how do we save data into a file? Imagine you have an empty notebook. You can write new notes into it. Later, you can add more notes. Python provides two main ways to do this: write mode and append mode. Firstly, we will look at the write mode. The write method is used to store text inside a file. The write method is used to store text inside a file. The Python program looks like: firstly we open file, then we write data, and then we close file. This is the basic writing process. Now, what is a write mode? The mode for write is small w. When a file is opened in a write mode, Python prepares it for writing. If the file already contains data, and write mode removes the old content and replaces it with new content. This is the most important concept in this section. For example, a whiteboard. In a whiteboard, we erase the old content and write the new content. Write mode behaves like a whiteboard. Old content is erased and new is written. Another important feature is creating a file. If file does not exist, write mode automatically creates file. Write mode automatically creates a file. This makes write mode very useful for generating reports and cards. The write method stores exactly what we provide. If we do not include a new line, the next text continues on the same line. After write mode, we have the append mode, represented by A. What does append mode do? Append mode adds new content to the end of the file. Adds new content to end of the file. Unlike write mode, it does not delete existing data. Now we will look at the difference between write mode and append mode. In write mode, removes old content, whereas append mode keeps old content. Write mode writes new content, where append mode adds new content. Write mode creates file if missing. Append mode also creates file if missing. Write mode starts from beginning. While append mode starts from end. Now, why we should use write mode? We use write mode for creating a new file, replacing old data, generating fresh reports and saving updated information. Welcome back. In the previous sections we learned how to open files, read files, write files and append data. Now let's understand file modules completely. Every time we open a file, Python asks an important question. What do you want to do with this file? Do you want to read it, write to it, append new data or create a completely new file? File modes tell Python exactly what operation we want to perform. Now what are file modes? File modes specify how a file should be opened, and what operations are allowed on that file. The four most important modes are the ones beginners use more frequently, that are read, write, append and create new file. Now we will look into them one by one. First is the read mode, which is represented by small r. Read mode opens an existing file. It is used for reading, and the condition is that that file must already exist. So we should have an existing file. We open that file, we read that file, and then at last we close the file. If the file doesn't exist, Python raises an error. After read mode, we have write mode. Write mode is used for writing. It replaces existing content and creates the file if the file doesn't exist. So the old content is removed, new content written. This is useful when creating fresh reports. After that, we have append, represented by small a. Append adds new content at the end, preserves existing content and creates the file if it does not exist. In append, old content is kept and new content is added. It is ideal for logs and attendance records. After that, we have create mode, represented by small x. This mode is different. It creates a new file only. It's create new file and fail if file already exists. If the file already exists, Python raises an error. Now which mode should we use? We should use R for reading notes, reading records and reading reports. We use write mode for creating reports, replacing data and saving updated information. We should use the append mode for attendance, transactions, logs and diary entries. And lastly, we use create for creating a file. That's it. So now we have completed with the theory part of this lecture 10. We have learned what file handling is, why files provide permanent storage, how to open and close files, how to read files, how to write and append data, and all important file modes. In the next session, we will move to Jupyter Notebook, where we will create files, write data, read data and append new information. In the theory section, we learned what file handling is and why it is important. We also learned that variables store data temporarily but files store data permanently. Today, we will start working with files practically. In this session, we will learn how to create a file, how to write data into a file, how to read data from a file, how to read one line or multiple lines, and how to use with open statement. By the end of the session, we will be able to save information permanently using Python. So for the very first program, we are going to create a file and write data from the file. Firstly, we will create a file and we will open it. In the open function, I will define the name of the file, which is hello.txt. Hello.txt is the name of the file we want to create, and after that, we will write ww represent write mode. Now we will write information into this file. For that, I will write file dot write. Say I want to write hello Python. Hello Python. After writing into the file, write method, we use write method to store the text hello Python inside the file. In the third line, we will close the file. For that, I will write file dot close. This is how we close the file. Okay. Now, if we open our project folder, we will see that a new file named hello.txt has been created. And when we open it, we will find the text hello Python. If I go to home, here we have file name hello.txt. If I open this file, it will take some time. You will see it prints hello Python. So this is how write function works. Now we will try to add multiple data into the file. For that, I will create a new file. If the file doesn't exist, the write mode automatically creates a file. So here I will create another file equals to, then we will open the file and we will create a file called notes.txt in the write mode. And now we will add information to this file. I will write file.write Python. And similarly, we will add more information to that file. We will add Python, Java, C++. Finally, we will write data science. After writing the information, we will close the file. So now we have a new file called notes.txt, and if I open this file, you will see it has the required information stored in it. So in the notes.txt file, we have Python, Java, C++, and data science printed already. Now we will try to read the entire file that we have created. I will use this file. We will try to read this notes.txt file. For that, I will change the mode from write to read. And then we will create a variable data which is equals to file.read. This read function will read all the data from the file. After that, we will print the required data. Print data. So this prints the content which was included in notes.txt file. Now the next function which we have is readLine method. In the readLine method, if you don't want to read the whole file, I don't want to just read the first line or read the file line by line. For that, we use the readLine method. We will simply copy paste this entire code, and you just have to make a small change. You have to change this read to readLine. After that, we will print. So this prints the first line. If I run this program again, then it will read the second line. Again, it will read the third line, and lastly, it will read the fourth line. Now the next is the read lines method, which reads the complete file and returns all the lines as a list. For that, we will simply write data equals to file.read and we will change it to read lines. And if I run this, firstly we also have to copy paste the line here. So you can see we have all the contents in a list format. Now we can also read the file using a loop. This is one of the most common methods used in real world programs. Instead of reading everything at once, Python reads one line at a time inside the loop. For that, what we have to do, firstly we will put our file and then we will run our for loop for line in file, print line, and then finally close the loop, file dot close, and then copy paste. So this is how we read data from a file using loops. Now next we are going to learn how to use with open. This is a professional way of working with files. The with open statement automatically opens the file. We don't have to write the open statement for that. We simply write with open, then the name of the file which we want to open. I'm going to open notes.txt. Then in we will write the mode in which mode we are going to open the file. I'm going to open in read mode as file. After that, we will create a variable again data which equals to file.read. And finally, we will print the data. When the block finishes, Python automatically closes the file. So we don't need to write file.close ourselves. This method is a cleaner, safer, and is widely used in professional Python development. So now we learned how to create files, write down data into them, and read the stored information using different methods like read, readline, and readlines. We also learned the best practice of using with open, which automatically closes the file and makes our clone cleaner and safer. Up in the upcoming session, we will learn how to append new data into the existing files. In the previous session, we learned how to create file, write data into that, and read the contents using different methods. But here's an important question. Suppose you already have created a file and tomorrow you want to add more information to it. Should you rewrite the entire file? No. Python provides a better solution called append mode. Today we will learn how to append new data into a file, count the number of lines, count the number of words and characters, perform some useful file operations in real world applications. Firstly, we will try to append data into a file. I will use lec10 file. Firstly, we will open our file using the open function, and here I will change the R, the read mode to A, which is append mode. Unlike write mode, append mode doesn't remove the existing content. Instead, it adds the new text at the end of the file. Now we will write data into this file. File.write. Say I want to add machine learning to this. For that, we will write machine learning. And after that, we will finally close the file. And then we will run this. After running the program, if I open the notes.txt file, you will notice that machine learning has been added without deleting the previous content. Here, machine learning is added here at the end of the file. Okay, next, we are going to read this updated file. For that, we will use the read method again. If I use this open with method to read the file, and if I print this, you can see we have machine learning written in this. Now we will try to count the number of lines. For that, we will open the file in read mode. Since we are going to read the number of lines, we will use the readline method. I will create a variable times which is equals to file.readlines, and then we will print the number of lines.
which is length of lines. Finally, we will close the file. Now, if I run this, please read lines. Sorry for spelling mistake. So there are total five number of lines. Here we can see we have five lines: Python, Java, C++, data science, and machine learning, which is total of five numbers. Now we can also count the number of words in a file. For that, we will again open this file in read mode, and then we will create a variable data, which is file.read. For words, we will split this data. The split divides the text into separate words and stores them in a list. After that, we will print the words, which is length of words. This will print the total number of words. Then we will close the file. File.close. This is split. So it says six words, which is C. Python is one word, Java is one word, C++ data size is one word, and machine and learning are two different words, which makes a count total of six. Now we can also read the number of characters. For that, we will again open this file in read mode and create a variable of data. After that, we will print the for printing the total number of characters, we will simply print length of data, and then we will close the file. So this will print the total number of characters, which includes letters, numbers, spaces, and even new line characters. Now what we will do, we will try to search for a word in this file. Say I have this file. Now I am going to search any word which is written. Say I want to search for Python. So I will start my conditional statement as if Python, it's capital P here, in data, then print word form, else print word not found. And then we will close the file, which is so it says word found because Python exists into that file. Now we will try to make a small mini project which is called student attendance. We will see this project is very simple. We will take input of name from the user and it will just append the name of the person into a file. Firstly, we'll create a variable called name, which is equals to input, enter your name. Then I say file, open a new file called attendance.txt. We will open it into append mode. And then we will write data into this file. I will want to write name. It's a new line character. This will take data. And after that, finally, we will close the file. Then we will print attendance saved successfully. Say I want to, now it says enter your name. I will write a name Rahul. And if I go there, you will see Rahul is stored into this attendance. See, we have Rahul here. So today we learned how to append data to existing files, count lines, words, and characters, and search for information inside a file. These operations are used in many real-world applications such as attendance system, diary products, note-taking apps, and log management system. In the next practical session, we will build a real world file handling projects like student record system, notes manager, etc. Where we will apply everything we have learned so far. So far, we learned how to create files, read data from files, write new data, and append information. Now it's time to combine all these concepts and build some real world applications. These are the types of projects you will find in schools, offices, banks, and many software applications. So, still, let's start with our very first project, which is called Student Record System. So what we will do, this is simple student record system. The program displays the menu. Option 1 allows the user to add student's name and the name is stored in a student.txt file. Option 2 reads all the student records from the file and option 3 exits the program. So this is what we are going to do. Firstly, we will start with the while loop. So I say while true, while the situation is true, print the following. Print slash n first, that is add student, add student. After that, I will print in the second line to, that is view students. After that, we will exit. For that, we will print option 3, that is exit. After that, we will make our choices. We will take the choice as input. Since choice is in string format, we will take input and we will say your choice. Enter your enter your choice. After the choice is entered, we will move to the first again. Next, now we will start our if statement. So the if statement say if my choice is equals to 1, then so the choice equals to 1 means we have to add students. So we will take the name of the students as input. If the choice is 1, take input from the user and say enter student name. After taking input, we will start with open statement. We write with open. Our file name is student.txt and our mode is append mode. We are going to use append mode here since we are adding values as 5. So we are done so far. Now we will write into the file. But we will write file dot write. In the file we will write the student name, that is name. Then we will add the new line character. We will add the new line character here. After this we will print that student records are saved successfully. Again we will move to another line. We will print student record saved successfully. Now we will move to the second choice, which is elif statement, which says elif choice equals to 2. Then, so if this choice is 2, we are going to view the students. Then we will say try. says with open, our file name is student.txt, and now we are going to open this file in read mode as file. Then we will print student records. For some neat displaying, we will also add some lines here. I will also print some lines, and after that we will write up a print statement in which we will read the file. So I'll say print file dot read. Then we say after printing we say we will write an except statement also. Except file not found error. So if there is no file, don't give me a file no found error. You can ignore this statement if you want to. This one is not important. Just try to remember the logic. Note student record found. After that, we will move to our next choice, which is third choice. Elif choice is equals to 3. Print thank you and then break. Else print in case of any other choice, print invalid choice. Now we'll so if we run this program, the following things shows up. It says 1 for adding student, 2 for view student, 3 for exit. So firstly, we will add some students' name. The first name I will add Rahul. After executing, it says student record saved successfully, and again it asks for the choice. Since we are going to add some 2 to 3 names, I will again choose one and add another name, which is Rohit. After that, again for last time we will add a name, and I will add Aman. Then I want a function, a program to show me the students I have added. So I will say 2 for view students, and if I press enter, it shows the list of students added. And after that, if I press 3, we will exit from our program. So this was the very first project called Student Record System. Now we will move to the second project, which is Notes Manager. The next project is called Notes Manager. So the program works like a simple notes application. Every note entered by the user is stored inside a file called notes.txt file, and the loop will continue until the user types exits. For that, again, we will start with the while loop. I will say while the statements are true. No, take note as input. I will write input, and in that I will write a note or Type exit to stop. After that, if the notes I wrote exit is equals to exit, then break the loop. Else, else in the else statement we'll start our with open statement with open. The file is notes.txt. Since we have, I will change it to note.txt, and our mode is append mode as file. Then write note, then our new line character. After that, print note saved successfully. Now we'll execute our program. It's taking time, so let's execute here. So we will write a note. I will say Python is a high level programming language. I say enter, and if I now I added a text called Python is a high level programming language. Now if I want to exit, I don't want to write anything, then I will simply write exit. And if I see in the note.txt file, our note is saved. Here you can see. So today we have built two real-world applications using file handling. These projects demonstrate how Python programs can permanently store and retrieve information. With these skills, you can now create applications such as attendance system, contact books, note-taking apps, and expense trackers. So in the final practical session of this lecture 10, we will revise everything we have learned, solve interview-style questions, and had a few mini projects, and wrap up the complete chapter on file handling in Python.